In this video, I want to discuss how the far right-wing government, Winston, Churchill, Enoch Powell, Margaret Thatcher and Nigel Farage, how they are playing games with poor white people. When you hear the words of immigrants and Windrush, you immediately think that it was Liberals or Labour Party who invited them to come to England. Yet it was not. It was not, Labour that invited my parents to come to England. It was none other than a far right-wing government. The same far right-wing government that tells people that if you want a nigger for a neighbour, vote Labour. But it wasn't Labour that brought over, the Jamaicans. It wasn't Labour that brought over, Muslims. It wasn't Labour that brought over Polish. It was the Conservative government. Nigel Farage has promised that he's going to get rid of ethnic minorities, and if you look at his manifesto, you will see he wants an England that is pure white. He adopts a Nazi type philosophy, and that is, he wants an all-white England full of white people. But Nigel Farage knows that it's impossible. He knows that when the bill gets sent to Parliament, it's not going to be accepted. It's going to be rejected. But he's playing people for fools. I don't understand, why do people allow themselves to be deceived? Why do people allow themselves to be taken in by these charlatans, these crooks, who you know full well they're eating out of corporations' hands? You know full well that they're bankers, and they care only about wealthy people. Hence why he's going to scrap the NHS and privatise it, and also he's going to cripple the poor by cancelling any means, any benefits whatsoever. That's his intention. Yet somehow in the same breath he cares about poor white people. I was shocked. I had to do some research a few months ago before Nigel Farage even decided he was going to, run for the opposition. And I realised it was Enoch Powell, Margaret Thatcher, that invited immigrants to come over. It wasn't Labour. They called us, they sweet talk us as it's you Commonwealth. You come from the motherland. That's it. Come from the motherland. They were calling us English. They were calling us English and say, come from the motherland and help build England. This was what Enoch Powell says and Margaret Thatcher. And then in the same breath, if you want a nigger for a neighbour, vote Labour. And people had it in their minds it was a Labour Party that invited over all these immigrants, and it was not. It was a far right-wing government. Why? They wanted cheap labour. But as long as they can whip up nationalism, whip up racism, whip up patriotism, they can hide their dirty hand. A lot of people don't research And that's why the Bible says, my people are destroyed because of the lack of knowledge. They refuse to read. They refuse to look into the backgrounds of what these people stand for. The far right-wing government, they are liars. No matter what country they are from, the only way they can exist is to propagate lies. Because extreme racism isn't logical. To hate a fellow human being isn't logical, especially when these human beings you're told to hate has helped you build your country after the Germans has bombed it. This is the same Nigel Farage who said, stop Europeans from coming over because we can now bring over Africans, bring over black people. This is the same Nigel Farage. This is his words. Oh, we can stop the Eastern Europeans from coming over, and now Africans and blacks can come over. Really? So they talk with forked tongue, conquer and dividing, that in the end they have one thing in common. They want an England that is pure white, and they don't care who they lie to, they don't care how many broken promises and failed pledges. It doesn't bother them. It's about winning. And sadly, a lot of reformed voters, they're in for a shock. If you thought Brexit failed and smashed up your economy, you're in for a shock. You chose to deal with Satan, and you will see what happens to you and your country.